Good evening. Welcome to Sleep Chamber. It is what it is. What happens, happens. And as for now, there's nothing you can do. It was always her dream to travel the world. She had saved up for years, and finally she was ready to set off on her great adventure. She started in China, and it was there that she met a kind lion named Robert. Robert was a big, friendly lion, and he quickly became her tour guide and protector as she traveled through China. He showed her all the best sights and made sure she was always safe. She quickly fell in love with him and they became inseparable. Together, they traveled to all sorts of amazing places and had more adventures than she could have ever imagined. It was the best time of her life. And she knew that as long as she had Robert by her side, she could conquer the world. Eventually, they made their way back to China and settled down there. They built a life together and were happy for many years. Even though she never got to travel the world again, she was content knowing that she had experienced it all with the love of her life, Robert the lion. I remember my grandma telling me that Robert the lion was a metaphor. But she never told me what he was a metaphor for. A metaphor is a figure of speech in which one thing is described as another, or more abstract thing. In other words, a metaphor is a way of describing something by using a word or phrase that is not literally true, but which still evokes a strong image or feeling. For example, if someone says Robert is a lion, they are not literally saying that Robert is a big, furry animal with a mane and a tail. Instead, they are using the image of a lion to describe some aspect of Robert's personality. Perhaps they mean that he is brave, or fierce, or perhaps they simply think he looks like a lion. Metaphors can be powerful tools for writers and speakers, as they can help to paint a vivid picture in the mind of the reader or listener. They can also be used to make complex ideas more understandable, or to add an emotional punch to a message. One famous example of a metaphor is the phrase "the elephant in the room." This is often used to describe a situation where there is an important issue that everyone is aware of, but which no one is talking about. The metaphor of the elephant in the room suggests that the issue is so big and so obvious that it is impossible to ignore, even though everyone may be trying to do just that. Here is another example of a metaphor: the world is my oyster. This metaphor suggests that the speaker has a lot of opportunity and potential available to them. It is often used to encourage someone to seize the day and go after their dreams. The term metaphor comes from the Greek word bebop, which means to carry over or to transfer. A metaphor carries over the literal meaning of a word to its figurative meaning. The use of metaphors is thought to be a universal human experience. All cultures use metaphors, although the metaphors may be different. For example, In English, we might say he's a snake to describe a treacherous person. In Spanish, the equivalent metaphor would be he's a fox. Metaphors are often used in language to express complex ideas or concepts in a simple way. They can also be used to make a description more vivid or to add humor. In addition, metaphors can be used to create powerful images and to stir emotions. The earliest recorded use of metaphors can be found in the works of the ancient Greek poets Homer and Hesiod. In the Iliad, Homer uses the metaphor of the wine dark sea to describe the color of the ocean. Hesiod uses the metaphor of the land of the unresisting plow to describe the ease with which one can plow a field. Metaphors are not just the province of poets and writers. They are also used in everyday speech. For example, we might say he's a real gem to describe a kind and helpful person. While the use of metaphors is common, it is not always easy to create an effective one. A metaphor must be carefully chosen to accurately convey the desired meaning. In addition, a metaphor should not be overused or it will lose its impact. The origin of metaphors is a matter of some debate. Some believe that they are innate, while others believe that they are learned. It is likely that both views are correct. We are born with the ability to see similarities between things and to use metaphors. However, we must learn the specific metaphors that are used in our culture. The study of metaphors is an important part of linguistics, as well as psychology and neuroscience. By understanding how metaphors are used, we can gain insights into the way our minds work. Greece is a country located in southern Europe. Its mainland is bordered by the Mediterranean Sea to the south and east, the Ionian Sea to the west, and the Aegean Sea to the north. Greece has a long history, dating back to the Bronze Age. The country is home to some of the oldest civilizations in the world, including the Mycenaean civilization, the classical Greek civilization, and the Byzantine Empire. Greece is also the birthplace of democracy and the Olympic Games. The Mycenaean civilization was the first great civilization of Greece. It flourished between 1400 and 1200 BCE. The Mycenaeans were a powerful people who built great palaces and fortresses. They were also skilled warriors and traders. The Mycenaeans had a complex society with a hierarchy of kings, nobles, and commoners. The classical Greek civilization was the second great civilization of Greece. It flourished between 800 and 300 BCE. The classical Greeks were a highly cultured people. They developed democracy, philosophy, and science. The Greeks were also great warriors. They defeated the Persians in the Persian Wars and the Peloponnesian War. The Byzantine Empire was the third great civilization of Greece. It flourished between 300 and 1453 CE. The Byzantine Empire was the largest and most powerful Christian empire in the world. The Byzantines developed a rich culture, with a highly centralized government, elaborate ceremonies, and beautiful art. Greece has a long and rich history. The country is the birthplace of democracy, the Olympic Games, and Western civilization. I've always been fascinated by Greece. So much actually that I invited a Greece specialist into the studio today. Welcome, Mary. So Mary, tell me a little bit about your background. I was born and raised in Greece. I've always been interested in history, and my family is from Athens originally. I've been studying Greek history since I was a child. What made you decide to become a historian? I've always loved learning about the past, and I'm fascinated by the way that history can shape the present and the future. I want to understand the world we live in and how it came to be. And what do you think is the most important thing that history can teach us? I think history can teach us a lot about ourselves. It can show us who we are and where we came from. It can also teach us about other cultures and how they've interacted with each other over time. Do you think that studying history is important for understanding the present? Absolutely. I think it's essential for understanding the world we live in today. Without understanding where we came from, it's difficult to understand where we're going. What do you think is the most challenging thing about being a historian? I think the most challenging thing is trying to piece together the past from the available evidence. Sometimes there are gaps in the historical record, and it can be difficult to fill in those gaps. But I imagine it can also be quite rewarding to solve those puzzles. Yes, it can be. It's always exciting to find a new piece of evidence that helps to fill in a gap in the story. So, what are you working on at the moment? I'm currently working on a project about the history of Greece during the Roman Empire. I'm particularly interested in the way that the Roman Empire interacted with Greece and how that shaped the development of Greek culture. That sounds like a really interesting project. I'm sure you've learned a lot already. Yes, I have. It's been a great opportunity to deepen my understanding of Greek history. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Thank you so much for your time, Mary. Thank you, Henrik. It's been a pleasure. Like I said, I've always been interested in Greece. On my birthday, I decided to go to Greece by myself. I arrived in Athens and was immediately struck by the beauty of the city. The buildings were white and gleaming in the sun, and the streets were lined with cafes and shops. I wandered around for a while, taking in the sights and sounds of the city. I stopped at a cafe for lunch and watched the people go by. After lunch, I walked to the Acropolis and explored the ancient ruins. The view from the top was incredible, and I could see for miles. I spent the rest of the afternoon wandering around the city, and then I went back to my hotel and rested. The next day, I rented a car and drove to the island of Mykonos. The drive was beautiful, and the island was even more stunning. I spent the day lounging on the beach and exploring the town. In the evening, I went to a bar and had some drinks with some new friends I met. I spent the next few days exploring different islands and cities. I went to Santorini and saw the beautiful blue waters. I went to Delphi and saw the ancient ruins. I even took a boat ride to a nearby island. I had an incredible time in Greece, and I'm so glad I decided to go there for my birthday. After Greece, I actually went to Croatia. After Greece, I decided to travel to Croatia by myself. I'd always wanted to go sailing, and Croatia seemed like the perfect place to do it. I found a reputable company that offered sailing trips and booked myself on one. The trip was amazing. I got to see so much of Croatia's stunning coastline and islands. We stopped in ports along the way to explore and swim. I even got to try my hand at sailing the boat myself. It was an incredible experience. One night, as we were anchored off a small island, I went for a swim. I was enjoying the peacefulness of the evening and the feeling of being totally alone in the vastness of the sea. Suddenly, I felt something brush against my leg. I panicked and started swimming towards the boat. It was only then that I realized it was just a harmless fish. I laughed at myself for being so scared, but it was a moment I'll never forget. I had an amazing time in Croatia and would love to go back someday. Sailing is an ancient and popular sport with a wide variety of sailboats to choose from. In order to sail, one must have a basic understanding of the different types of boats, how to rig them, and the basic principles of wind and waves. This guide will give you a brief overview of how to sail. There are two types of sailboats, monohulls and catamarans. Monohulls have one hull, while catamarans have two. Catamarans are faster and easier to maneuver, but monohulls are more stable. Rigging a sailboat is not difficult, but it is important to do it correctly. The first step is to attach the mast to the boat. The mast is the tall vertical pole that supports the sails. Next, attach the sails to the mast. The sails are what catch the wind and propel the boat. Finally, attach the rudder to the back of the boat. The rudder is what steers the boat. The wind is what makes sailing possible. It is important to understand the basic principles of wind in order to sail effectively. Wind is created by the sun heating the Earth's surface unevenly. Warm air rises and cooler air rushes in to take its place. This moving air is what we call wind. Wind direction is determined by two factors: pressure and Coriolis effect. Pressure is the difference in air pressure between two areas. The Coriolis effect is the rotation of the Earth. Together, these two factors determine which way the wind will blow. Waves are created by the wind blowing over the surface of the water. The size and shape of the waves depend on the wind speed and the fetch. Fetch is the distance the wind has blown over the water without obstruction. Sailing is a fun and rewarding sport. With a little practice, anyone can learn to sail. Sailing is one of the most relaxing and enjoyable activities that someone can do. It can be done as a form of exercise, transportation, or simply for leisure. There are many different types of sailing, from racing to cruising, and each has its own set of challenges and rewards. There are many different factors to consider when choosing the best sailing destination. The weather, the type of sailing you want to do, the availability of sailing equipment and instructors, and the cost of sailing are all important considerations. The best sailing destinations in the world offer a variety of experiences for sailors of all levels of experience. From the sheltered waters of the Mediterranean to the open ocean of the Pacific, there is a sailing destination for everyone. The Mediterranean Sea is one of the most popular sailing destinations in the world. The weather is generally warm and dry, making it an ideal sailing destination for beginners and experienced sailors alike. There are many different types of sailing available in the Mediterranean, from racing to cruising. The Mediterranean is also home to some of the world's best-known sailing events, such as the America's Cup and the Volvo Ocean Race. The Caribbean is another popular sailing destination, offering a warm climate and sheltered waters. The Caribbean is a great place to learn to sail, with many sailing schools offering instruction for all levels of sailors. The Caribbean is also home to some of the world's most prestigious sailing events, such as the Rolex Sydney Hobart Race and the Heineken Regatta. The Pacific Ocean is the largest ocean in the world and offers a wide variety of sailing experiences. The Pacific is home to a number of world-famous sailing events, such as the Trans-Pacific Yacht Race and the Clipper Round the World Race. The Pacific is also a great place to learn to sail, with many sailing schools offering instruction for all levels of sailors. No matter what your level of experience or sailing goals, there is a sailing destination for you. With so many different sailing destinations around the world, it's easy to find the perfect place to suit your needs. Speaking of sailing, let me introduce you to Sal, a sail expert. Sal, can you tell me a little bit about the beauty of sailing? There's something about being out on the open water, feeling the wind in your sails and the sun on your face. It's a feeling of freedom and peace that's hard to find anywhere else. I can imagine. It sounds like a very calming experience. It can be. But it can also be exhilarating. There's nothing quite like the feeling of the wind in your hair as you race across the water. That does sound exciting. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that kind of adventure just yet. That's perfectly understandable. Sailing isn't for everyone. But I think if you give it a try, you might just find that you love it. I'm definitely willing to give it a try. How do I get started? Well, the first step is finding a good sailing school. They'll be able to teach you the basics and help you get started on your sailing journey. That sounds great. I'll definitely look into that. Thank you for your time, Sal. You're welcome, Henrik. I hope you enjoy sailing as much as I do. I'm sure I will. It's really the best way to see the world. You'll never forget the places you see or the people you meet while sailing. That sounds amazing. I can't wait to get started. Neither can I. Thank you, Sal. Sailing sounds so exciting. But I need to confess something. I'm kind of freaked out about fishes. Europe is home to a wide variety of fish, from the large and well-known to the small and obscure. Here are just a few of the different kinds of fish that can be found in European waters. The Atlantic salmon is one of the most popular fish in Europe. It is found in rivers and streams all across the continent and is a prized catch for many anglers. The salmon is known for its delicious taste and its healthy omega-3 fatty acids. The European eel is another common fish in Europe. It is found in rivers and lakes and is often used in traditional dishes. The eel is known for its slimy skin and its snake-like appearance. The common carp is a fish that is found in many different parts of Europe. It is a popular fish for many different reasons, including its tasty flesh and its hardy nature. The carp is also known for its ability to adapt to different environments, making it a popular choice for aquaculture. The pike is a large and popular fish that is found in many different European countries. It is a popular choice for many anglers, as it is a very strong and powerful fish. The pike is also known for its delicious taste and is often used in traditional European dishes. The herring is a small fish that is found in the waters around Europe. It is a popular choice for many different kinds of seafood, and is also used in traditional dishes. The herring is known for its strong taste and its oily flesh. The trout is a popular fish that is found in many different parts of Europe. It is a popular choice for anglers, as it is a very strong and powerful fish. The trout is also known for its delicious taste and is often used in traditional European dishes. The mackerel is a small fish that is found in the waters around Europe. It is a popular choice for many different kinds of seafood and is also used in traditional dishes. The mackerel is known for its strong taste and its oily flesh. The cod is a large and popular fish that is found in many different European countries. It is a popular choice for many anglers, as it is a very strong and powerful fish. The cod is also known for its delicious taste and is often used in traditional European dishes. The tuna is a large and popular fish that is found in many different parts of Europe. It is a popular choice for many anglers, as it is a very strong and powerful fish. The tuna is also known for its delicious taste and is often used in traditional European dishes. As a kid, I was always a little scared of fish. I'm not sure what it was that scared me about them, but something about their slimy skin and beady eyes just freaked me out. Maybe it was something that happened to me when I was younger. I can't remember. But whatever the reason, I've always been a little afraid of fish. It's not a huge deal, of course. I can still enjoy a nice seafood dinner, and I don't mind being around fish tanks. But I definitely don't like getting too close to them. The other day, however, I was forced to confront my fear. I was out on a boat with some friends and we were fishing. I was doing my best to avoid getting too close to the fish we were catching, but eventually I had to help reel one in. As I was holding the fish, it wriggled out of my hands and flopped onto the floor of the boat. I panicked and started to scream, but my friends just laughed at me. It was a really embarrassing moment, but also a really eye-opening one. I realized that my fear of fish was completely irrational and that I needed to face it head on. So, the next time we went out fishing, I made sure to be the one who reeled in the fish. And you know what? It wasn't so bad. Sure, I still don't like getting too close to fish, but I'm no longer scared of them. And that's a pretty big accomplishment for me. Most people would say that a strong friendship is one that is built on trust. In many ways, this is true. However, there is more to a strong friendship than simply trust. A strong friendship is also built on mutual respect, common interests, and a shared sense of humor. For example, take the friendship between two boys, John and Paul. John and Paul have been best friends since they were in diapers. They have never fought, and they always seem to know what the other is thinking. They share the same sense of humor, and they are always there for each other when they need each other. While trust is certainly a key ingredient in their friendship, it is not the only thing that keeps it strong. They also respect each other. They know that each of them has their own strengths and weaknesses, and they are comfortable enough with each other to be able to talk about them openly. They are also able to give each other constructive criticism when needed. Another important ingredient in their friendship is their common interests. They both love sports, and they are both competitive athletes. They also both love to read, and they often have long conversations about the books they are reading. They also enjoy spending time together outside of school, whether it is going to the movies or just hanging out at one of their houses. Lastly, their shared sense of humor is a big part of what makes their friendship so strong. They are always making each other laugh, and they are never afraid to be silly with each other. They understand that friendship is not always about being serious, and they enjoy just being able to relax and have fun with each other. All of these things combined make John and Paul's friendship one that is built on a strong foundation. They have been through a lot together, and they will continue to be there for each other no matter what. Their friendship is a true example of what it means to be best friends. A best friend is someone who you can rely on no matter what. They are always there for you when you need them, and they never judge you. You can tell them anything and they will never tell anyone else. They are also a great shoulder to cry on. Best friends are amazing people. They are always there for you no matter what. They never judge you, and they are always there to listen. You can tell them anything and they will never tell anyone else. They are also great shoulders to cry on. I have been lucky enough to have a best friend for over 10 years. We have been through everything together. We have laughed and cried together. We have supported each other through good times and bad. I would not be the person I am today without her. A best friend is someone who you can rely on no matter what. They are always there for you when you need them, and they never judge you. You can tell them anything and they will never tell anyone else. They are also a great shoulder to cry on. I am so grateful to have a best friend in my life. They make life so much better. I know that I can always count on them no matter what. Let me tell you about Melissa and Jeremy. It was a warm summer day when it all started. The sun was shining and the birds were singing. All was right in the world. But then, out of nowhere, a water balloon came flying through the air and smashed right into Melissa's face. She was so angry, she could have sworn she saw steam coming out of her ears. She turned to see who had thrown it, and there he was. Her sworn enemy, Jeremy. They had been enemies since they were 5 years old, when they had gotten into a fight over who got to swing first on the swing set. It had been a fight that neither of them had ever backed down from. But now, as Melissa glared at Jeremy, she saw something different in his eyes. She saw something that she had never seen before. A look of pure terror. He was scared of her. It was then that Melissa realized something. She had never seen Jeremy as anything other than her enemy. She had never stopped to think about how he felt or what he was thinking. And she realized that she didn't want to be enemies with him anymore. She walked over to him and held out her hand. "Truce," she said. "Truce." It all started with a water balloon and a moment of realization. Now, they laugh about that day all the time. They tell the story to anyone who will listen, and they always finish by saying, "And that's how you know it's never too late to make a new friend." Because sometimes, the best friends are the ones that you never expected to be. Melissa and Jeremy had been best friends since high school. They had bonded over their shared love of travel and adventure, and after they graduated, they decided to set out on a world tour together. They started in Europe, exploring all the major cities and sites. They marveled at the architecture, the art, and the history. They tasted new foods and drinks, and danced in the streets. They made new friends and memories everywhere they went. After a few months in Europe, they decided to head to Asia. They started in Japan, where they were mesmerized by the culture and the beauty of the country. They then traveled to Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos, where they had even more amazing experiences. Eventually, they made their way back to the States, where they continued to explore different parts of the country. They hiked in the mountains, swam in the ocean, and camped under the stars. They visited national parks and monuments, and learned about the different cultures and histories of the places they visited. Throughout their travels, Melissa and Jeremy remained close friends, and their shared experiences only served to deepen their bond. They laughed together, cried together, and supported each other through everything. They truly had the adventure of a lifetime, and they would never forget all the places they went and the things they saw. During their travels, they met Tom. Tom had always loved Hawaii. It was the place he had always dreamed of living in, and when he finally made the move, he was not disappointed. He loved the laid-back lifestyle, the beautiful beaches, and the friendly people. He soon settled into a happy routine of working during the day and spending his evenings and weekends exploring the island. He quickly made friends with some of the locals, and they would often go on adventures together. They would go hiking in the mountains, swimming in the waterfalls, and camping under the stars. Tom felt like he was living the dream. Every day was something new and exciting, and he was loving every minute of it. He couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Hawaii was truly the place for him, and he was happy to call it home. Tom had always been a bit of an adventurer, and moving to Hawaii had been one of the best decisions he'd ever made. He was always up for trying new things and exploring the island, and there was always something new to see and do. He loved the laid-back lifestyle and the friendly people. Life was pretty much perfect for Tom. He had a great job that he loved, great friends, and an amazing girlfriend. He was happy and content with his life. Every day was a new adventure, and Tom was loving every minute of it. He truly felt blessed to be able to live in such a beautiful place and to have such a great life. One day he went up to see the sunrise. The sun had just begun to peek over the horizon, painting the sky in a spectrum of oranges, pinks, and purples. The waves lazily rolled onto the shore, the sound a gentle back and forth inviting people to come and relax. The sand was warm and welcoming, the salty air a refreshing change from the mainland. It was going to be a beautiful day. All around people were getting up and starting their day, some going for a swim, others getting breakfast at one of the many food trucks that lined the beach. There was a feeling of happiness and peace in the air, a feeling that made everyone smile. As the day went on, more and more people came to the beach. The sound of laughter and chatter filled the air, along with the smell of sunscreen and salty skin. The water was a perfect temperature, the sun providing just the right amount of warmth. It was the perfect day to be in Hawaii. Hawaii is a state located in the United States of America. Hawaii is composed of 8 main islands and is the only state in the US that is entirely composed of islands. Hawaii is the most recent state to join the Union and was admitted as the 50th state in 1959. Hawaii is known for its tropical climate and beautiful scenery. The state is home to many different cultures and is a popular tourist destination. Hawaii is also known for its unique history and traditions. The native Hawaiian culture is one of the most unique and interesting cultures in the world. The Hawaiian people have a rich history and tradition of living in harmony with nature. Hawaiian culture is based on the principle of respect for all living things. This respect is reflected in the way the Hawaiian people live their lives. Hawaiian culture is also known for its focus on family. Family is considered to be the most important thing in Hawaiian culture. Hawaiian families are typically large and extended. Family members are expected to help and support each other. Hawaiian culture is also known for its love of the land. The Hawaiian people have a deep connection to the land they live on. This connection is reflected in the way the Hawaiian people care for the land. Hawaiian culture is based on the principle of stewardship, which means that the Hawaiian people believe that they have a responsibility to care for the land. The Hawaiian people have a unique relationship with the ocean. The ocean is considered to be a source of life for the Hawaiian people. The Hawaiian people have a deep respect for the ocean and consider it to be a sacred place. Hawaiian culture is rich and vibrant. It is a culture that is based on respect, family, and a deep connection to the land and ocean. Hawaiian culture is a unique and special part of the world. Hawaii is a group of 8 main islands and is the most isolated state in the US. The first people to inhabit the islands were the Polynesians, who arrived in canoes around 1200 AD. They brought with them chickens, pigs, dogs, sweet potatoes, and taro. They also brought the Hawaiian religion, which worshipped gods and goddesses such as Pele, Kanaloa, and Lono. The first Europeans to reach Hawaii were the British explorer, Captain James Cook, who arrived in 1778. Cook was killed in a fight with Hawaiians in 1779, but his expedition made Hawaii known to the Western world. In the early 1800s, American missionaries arrived in Hawaii and converted many Hawaiians to Christianity. In 1887, the US government forced Hawaii to become a US territory. This was done partly because the US wanted to have a base in the Pacific Ocean and partly because sugar plantation owners in Hawaii were afraid that the Hawaiian queen, Liliuokalani, would take away their land. In 1898, Hawaii was made a US territory, and in 1959 it became the 50th state of the US. Today, Hawaii is a popular tourist destination with its beautiful beaches, tropical climate, and friendly people. It is also home to the US military base, Pearl Harbor. Have you heard about Flora? Flora was born and raised on the island of Kauai. She began surfing when she was just a young girl and quickly developed a passion for the sport. Flora quickly became one of the most talented surfers in Hawaii and began competing in professional competitions when she was just a teenager. Flora quickly rose to the top of the professional surfing world, winning multiple world championships and becoming one of the most famous surfers in the world. She has been featured on the cover of magazines, and her face is recognizable to millions of people around the globe. Despite her success, Flora has remained humble and down to earth. She is still happiest when she is surfing the waves off her home island of Kauai. Flora's story is an inspiration to people all over the world, and she is proof that with hard work and dedication, anything is possible. Mace was a bird who lived in Sweden. One day, he decided to fly to Hawaii. On his way, he met a whale named Peter and a dolphin named Maya. They became friends and helped Mace on his journey. Mace had many adventures along the way and finally arrived in Hawaii. He was happy to be there and enjoyed the rest of his days with his new friends. Mace had always dreamed of flying to Hawaii. It was a place that he had always wanted to see. One day, he decided to make his dream a reality. He packed his bags and set off on his journey. Mace flew for days until he finally arrived in Hawaii. He was exhausted from his long journey, but he was also excited to finally be in Hawaii. He looked around and saw the beautiful beaches and the crystal clear water. He was happy to be there. Mace met a whale named Peter and a dolphin named Maya. They became friends and helped Mace on his journey. Mace had many adventures along the way and finally arrived in Hawaii. He was happy to be there and enjoyed the rest of his days with his new friends. Maya the dolphin was born into a family of dolphins who had lived in the same area of the ocean for generations. From a young age, Maya was fascinated by the world around her and loved to explore. She quickly made friends with the other dolphins in her pod, and they would often swim and play together. As Maya grew older, she started to travel further and further from her home, exploring new areas of the ocean. She met many different kinds of creatures and made friends with them too. She even met a whale once who told her all about the different oceans and what it was like to live in them. One day, Maya came across a group of humans fishing. She had never seen humans before and was curious to know more about them. She swam close to them and watched as they caught fish in their nets. She was so fascinated by what they were doing that she didn't notice a net being thrown over her. Before she knew it, she was being pulled out of the water by the humans. She was terrified and tried to break free, but it was no use. The humans put her in a tank on their boat and started to take her back to their village. Maya was heartbroken to be separated from her family and friends, and terrified of what the humans might do to her. However, she was also curious about these strange creatures and their world. The humans were kind to her, and over time she started to trust them. They taught her how to do tricks, and she even started to enjoy performing for them. As the years passed, Maya became more and more attached to the humans. She loved them and they loved her. She was happy in her new home, and even though she missed the ocean and her friends, she knew that she was where she belonged. One day, when she was out swimming with her human friends, she heard a familiar voice calling her name. It was one of her old dolphin friends from the ocean. He had come to find her and take her back home. Maya was torn. She didn't want to leave her human friends, but she also missed the ocean. In the end, she made the decision to go back to the ocean and be with her friends. She said goodbye to her human friends, and they were sad to see her go. But they knew that she was happy, and that was all that mattered. Maya was happy to be back in the ocean with her friends. She knew that she would always love her human friends, but this was her home. Let's also listen to Peter's story. Once upon a time, there was a whale called Peter who lived in the ocean with his friends. They would swim and play together all day, and it was the happiest time of their lives. Unfortunately, one day a group of humans came and captured Peter and his friends and took them away to a place called a zoo. The humans put them in a small tank and started to poke and prod at them. The other whales were terrified, but Peter remained calm and tried to reassure them that everything would be okay. He told them that he would find a way to escape and come back for them. And so, one night when the humans were asleep, Peter managed to escape from his tank. He swam back to the ocean and found his friends. They were so happy to see him, and they all swore to never be captured by the humans again. They had been planning it for weeks, ever since they had first seen the perfect tree in Andy's backyard. Now, with all the materials gathered and the help of Andy's older brother, they were finally ready to start building. It took them the whole day to get the tree house built, but it was worth it. They were both exhausted by the time they were done, but they couldn't have been more proud of their accomplishment. They had built the tree house entirely on their own, and it was perfect. The next day, they invited all of their friends over to check out the tree house. Everyone was amazed at how well it was built and how much fun it was to play in. Jack and Andy had created the perfect summer hangout spot, and they were both thrilled. The treehouse quickly became the most popular spot in the neighborhood, and everyone wanted to spend time there. Jack and Andy loved having all their friends over, and they spent many happy hours playing in the treehouse together. One summer day, after everyone had gone home, Jack and Andy were sitting in the treehouse, talking and laughing. They were both having a great time when suddenly they heard a loud noise. They looked out the window and saw that a storm was brewing. They knew they had to get down from the treehouse before the storm hit, but they were both scared. They had never been in a storm before, and they didn't know what to do. Finally, Jack gathered up his courage and said, "Let's go, Andy, we can do this." Together, they climbed down from the treehouse and made it safely back to Andy's house. They were both relieved to be safe, and they knew that they had faced their fears together. From then on, the treehouse was always a special place for Jack and Andy. It was a place where they could be themselves and where they could always count on each other. They had built something amazing together, and they would always be friends because of it. Jack and Andy had been best friends since kindergarten. They had always been drawn to each other, even though they were so different. Jack was the wild one, always getting into trouble and never afraid to speak his mind. Andy was the more reserved one, preferring to stay in the background and observe. But they shared a love of adventure, and that was what drew them together. They had spent many childhood summers together, exploring the woods near their homes and building tree houses. It was their secret hideout, where they would go to escape the world. They would spend hours talking, laughing, and planning their futures. As they grew older, they drifted apart. Jack got into drugs and ended up in a bad crowd. Andy went to college and started a family. They lost touch with each other and the treehouse became a distant memory. The one day, out of the blue, Jack showed up at Andy's door. He was clean now and wanted to rebuild the treehouse. Andy was hesitant at first, but he couldn't resist the opportunity to relive their childhood memories. So they set to work, rebuilding the treehouse from the ground up. It was hard work, but it was also a lot of fun. They reminisced about old times as they worked, and they quickly fell back into their old friendship. The treehouse was finished just in time for summer. They invited all of their old friends to come and celebrate its completion. It was a magical night, filled with laughter and memories. As they sat in the treehouse, looking out at the stars, they knew that their friendship would last forever. The treehouse was built on a sturdy oak tree, and it had been there for years. It was a happy place, full of laughter and good times. But then, one day, the treehouse was empty. The tree felt sad and lonely. It missed the sound of children's voices and the feel of their small bodies climbing on its branches. The treehouse was lonely for a long time, until one day a family moved into the house next door. The children discovered the treehouse and started to play in it again. The tree was happy once more. I was content to watch the children playing and laughing in the treehouse, and to feel the warmth of their presence once again. As someone who loves nature, I am always drawn to trees. There is something about their tall, strong presence that makes me feel at peace. I often find myself talking to trees, or at least imagining that they are talking to me. It might sound silly, but I truly believe that trees have feelings and emotions. The idea of trees having feelings and emotions is not a new one. In fact, many cultures around the world have long believed that trees are alive and have souls. The ancient Celts, for example, saw trees as the embodiment of the natural world and believed that they had the power to connect us to the spirit world. In many Native American cultures, trees are also seen as sacred beings with great wisdom. There is actually some scientific evidence to support the idea that trees may have emotions. Researchers have found that trees produce chemicals that are similar to those produced by humans when they are happy or stressed. And, like humans, trees can also produce more of these chemicals when they are under threat. So, the next time you are feeling down, take a walk in the woods and talk to the trees. I guarantee you will feel better. We all know that trees provide us with oxygen, shade, and beauty. They are essential to our environment and our survival. But did you know that trees also have feelings and emotions? Some people might think that this is crazy, but it's true. Trees are living, breathing beings, just like us. And just like us, they experience a range of emotions, from happiness and love to sadness and anger. Of course, trees can't speak like we do, so they express their emotions in other ways. For example, when a tree is happy, its leaves will be green and its branches will be strong. But when a tree is sad, its leaves will be droopy and its branches will be weak. It's not just the physical appearance of trees that changes when they're feeling emotions. Their chemical makeup also changes. For instance, when a tree is stressed, it will produce more of the stress hormone cortisol. So, how do we know that trees have emotions? Well, scientists have been studying tree emotions for many years, and they have found that trees react to both positive and negative stimuli in the same way that we do. For example, when scientists play music for trees, the trees will sway back and forth in time with the music. And when scientists give trees a gentle hug, the trees will respond by producing more of the hormone oxytocin, which is known as the love hormone. Oxytocin is a hormone that is produced in the brain and released into the bloodstream. It is best known for its role in social bonding and attachment. Oxytocin is sometimes referred to as the love hormone because it is involved in the bonding between mothers and their newborn babies, and between couples. Oxytocin is produced by the hypothalamus, and it is thought to be released in response to different types of stimulus, such as social interaction and hugging. Once released, it travels to the pituitary gland, where it is thought to influence the release of other hormones, such as prolactin and vasopressin. The exact role of oxytocin in the brain is not fully understood, but it is thought to be involved in a variety of social and emotional processes, such as social bonding and attachment, anxiety, depression, fear, trust, parenting. Have I told you about Johnny? Johnny was always a bit of a science nerd. He loved learning about the inner workings of the human body and the various hormones that controlled it. So, when he heard about oxytocin, he was intrigued. Oxytocin is often called the love hormone because it is released during social interactions, like hugging and kissing. It is also released during childbirth and breastfeeding. Johnny started researching oxytocin and quickly became obsessed with it. He read everything he could find on the topic and even started conducting his own experiments. He injected himself with oxytocin and observed the effects it had on his body and mind. He found that oxytocin made him feel more connected to others and increased his sense of well-being. Johnny's research on oxytocin led him to some interesting conclusions. He believes that oxytocin is the key to creating lasting relationships. He believes that it is the reason why people fall in love and stay in love. He also believes that it can help people to overcome their fears and anxieties. Johnny is now on a mission to spread the word about oxytocin and its amazing effects. He wants to help people to understand the power of this hormone and how it can change their lives. He is confident that oxytocin will one day be used to treat a variety of mental and physical health conditions. We are actually lucky enough to have Johnny here with us today. Welcome, Johnny. Hi, Johnny. I'm going to ask you some questions about oxytocin, the so-called love hormone. Yeah, sure. What do you want to know? Well, first of all, what is oxytocin? Oxytocin is a hormone that's produced by the pituitary gland. It's sometimes called the love hormone because it's involved in social bonding, sexual reproduction, and maternal behaviors. What does oxytocin do? Oxytocin has a lot of different effects. Why do people keep asking me that? It's involved in social bonding, sexual reproduction, and maternal behaviors. It's also been shown to reduce stress and anxiety and increase trust and cooperation. How is oxytocin produced? Oxytocin is produced by the pituitary gland. I said so already, remember. It's released into the bloodstream, and then it travels to the brain where it has its effects. What are some of the things that can trigger oxytocin release? Oxytocin release can be triggered by social interactions, like hugging. It can also be released during childbirth, and it's thought to play a role in bonding between mothers and their infants. What are some of the effects of oxytocin? Oxytocin has a lot of different effects. It's involved in social bonding and maternal behaviors. It's also been shown to reduce stress and anxiety and increase trust and cooperation. Do we know why oxytocin is so important for social bonding? We don't know for sure, but it's thought to be because oxytocin is involved in trust, communication, and empathy. It's also possible that oxytocin helps to cement relationships by increasing positive emotions and reducing negative emotions. What else do we know about oxytocin? Oxytocin is also being studied for its potential role in treating various health conditions, such as autism, social anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. That's fascinating. Thank you so much for your time, Johnny. Happy to be here. Can I go now? Yes. It's no secret that hugs are important to me. I'm a big fan of physical touch, and there's nothing quite like a good hug to make me feel loved and appreciated. I know some people might not be as big on hugs as I am, but that's okay. To each their own. What's important to me is that I make sure to hug the people in my life who mean the most to me. My family, my friends, my partner. These are the people who I want to feel my love and who I know will appreciate a good hug just as much as I do. I know that some people might view hugs as a simple act of affection, but to me, they mean so much more. They're a way of showing someone that you care about them, that you're thinking about them. They're a way of saying I'm here for you without having to say a single word. In a world that can be so cold and harsh, I believe that hugs are one of the most important things we can give to each other. They remind us that we're not alone, that we're loved and cherished. And that, to me, is the most important thing of all. I used to hate hugs. I would squirm and squeal and try to push my way out of them. I didn't like the way they made me feel, all trapped and helpless. I much preferred being on my own, where I could do what I wanted when I wanted. But then I met Bobby. Bobby was a cat who loved hugs. He would come up to me and purr and rub his head against me, and he would wrap his arms around me and give me a big squeeze. At first, I tried to push him away. I didn't want his hugs. But he was persistent, and slowly but surely, I started to enjoy his hugs. I started to feel safe and loved when he was hugging me, and I even started to return his hugs. Now, I can't imagine life without Bobby's hugs. They've helped me to open up and to feel more connected to the world. I'm grateful to him for that, and I hope that we can continue to share hugs for many years to come. There are many things in life that can be considered random. From the weather patterns we experience to the people we meet, everything in life is subject to change without notice or predictability. This can be frustrating at times, but it is also what makes life so interesting. Without randomness, life would be quite boring. One of the most random things in life is the order in which we meet people. We could meet our best friend on the first day of school, or we could meet them at the grocery store years later. We could meet our future spouse at a bar, or we could meet them at church. The possibilities are endless, and ultimately, It is up to chance as to who we will meet and when. This randomness can be applied to any number of things in life. The job we get, the car we drive, the house we live in. All of these things are subject to change without notice or predictability. This is what makes life so interesting and, sometimes, so difficult. We never know what is going to happen next, and as such, we have to be prepared for anything. While randomness can be frustrating, it is also what makes life so exciting. We never know what is going to happen next, and that is what keeps us on our toes. So, the next time you are feeling frustrated by the randomness of life, remember that it is this very randomness that makes life worth living. There are an endless amount of materials that exist in the world, each with their own unique properties and uses. Aluminum is a silvery white, soft, lightweight metal that is used in a wide variety of applications. It is resistant to corrosion and is a good conductor of electricity and heat. Aluminum is found in abundance in the Earth's crust and is the most widely used non-ferrous metal. Applications for aluminum include transportation, packaging, construction, and consumer products. Aluminum has a number of desirable properties that make it an ideal material for many applications. It is lightweight yet strong, making it ideal for use in transportation applications. It is also resistant to corrosion, so it can be used in packaging applications where food and beverages will be stored. Additionally, aluminum is a good conductor of electricity and heat, so it is often used in electrical applications. There are two main types of aluminum: cast aluminum and wrought aluminum. Cast aluminum is made by pouring molten aluminum into a mold, where it solidifies. Wrought aluminum is made by rolling, extruding, or drawing aluminum into the desired shape. Aluminum is a versatile material that can be used in a wide variety of applications. Its lightweight, strength, and resistance to corrosion make it an ideal choice for transportation, packaging, and construction applications. Additionally, its good conductivity of electricity and heat make it a suitable choice for electrical applications. Have you heard about Carl and his house made out of aluminum? It was always his dream to build his own house. And not just any house, but a house made entirely out of aluminum. He had seen it in a movie once and it just seemed so cool. Plus, he was always a bit of a tinkerer and loved working with metal. So, when he finally had the money and the time, he set to work building his dream home. It took him a few years, but he eventually finished it. And it was exactly how he wanted it. Every single thing in the house was made out of aluminum, from the walls to the furniture, even the appliances. It was like living in a giant aluminum can. But he loved it. It was his dream come true. Of course, there were some drawbacks. The house was extremely difficult to keep clean, and it got incredibly hot in the summer. But he didn't care. He was living in his dream home, and that was all that mattered. The man had always been fascinated by aluminum. He loved the way it looked and the way it felt. When he was younger, he had even toyed with the idea of building his own house out of aluminum. But he never thought it would actually be possible. But then, one day, he won the lottery. And with that money, he was finally able to make his dream a reality. He bought a piece of land and hired the best architects and engineers he could find. And together, they created a house made entirely out of aluminum. The man was so happy. He had always wanted a house that was completely unique. And now he had it. It was his very own aluminum palace. Alan was always obsessed with aluminium. He loved the way it looked, the way it felt, and the way it sounded. He would often spend hours just staring at it, admiring its beauty. One day, he met a woman called Sarah, and he instantly fell in love with her. She was everything he had ever wanted in a partner, and he was determined to make her his. However, Sarah was not interested in aluminium in the slightest. In fact, she found it quite off-putting. Alan tried his best to hide his obsession, but eventually it became too much for him and he had to confess. Sarah was understanding, and she didn't mind that Alan was obsessed with aluminium. In fact, she found it quite endearing. The two of them soon started dating, and they were very happy together. However, Alan's obsession with aluminium began to take over his life. He would spend all of his time thinking about it, and he even started neglecting Sarah. She tried her best to support him, but eventually she realized that it was too much. Alan was heartbroken when Sarah left him, but he knew that it was for the best. He knew that he needed to get help for his obsession, and he vowed to change his ways. With the help of therapy, Alan was eventually able to overcome his obsession with aluminium. He was able to start living a normal life again, and he even started dating Sarah once more. They say that true love never fails, and in this case, it certainly didn't. Alan and Sarah were able to overcome the odds and find their way back to each other. That story always warms my heart. Even though it is quite weird that I have met two people obsessed with aluminum. I mean, isn't there more interesting materials out there? Like gold or maybe iron. Speaking of iron, did you hear the story about the Iron Queen? The Iron Queen was a kind and gentle ruler who cared deeply for her people. She was a just and fair ruler who always tried to do what was best for her kingdom. She was a wise ruler who made decisions based on what she thought was right, not on what was popular. And she was a brave ruler who was not afraid to stand up for what she believed in, even when it meant going against the grain. The Iron Queen was a firm but fair ruler. She believed in justice and equality, and she worked hard to ensure that her people were treated fairly. She was always willing to listen to her people, and she was quick to act when she felt that someone was being treated unfairly. She was also quick to forgive, and she was known for her mercy. The Iron Queen was a wise ruler. She was not afraid to make tough decisions, and she always put the needs of her kingdom first. She was known for her level head and her calm demeanor, even in the face of danger. She was also known for her intelligence, and she was able to outwit her enemies on many occasions. The Iron Queen was a brave ruler. She was not afraid to stand up for what she believed in, even when it meant going against the grain. She was known for her courage, and she was often the first to volunteer for dangerous missions. She was also known for her passion, and she was always fighting for what she believed in. The Iron Queen was a kind, gentle, just, and fair ruler who always tried to do what was best for her kingdom. She was a wise and intelligent ruler who made decisions based on what she thought was right, not on what was popular. And she was a brave and courageous ruler who was not afraid to stand up for what she believed in, even when it meant going against the grain. One day, however, her kingdom was threatened by a giant turtle that had appeared from the sea. The turtle was so large that it completely blocked the entrance to the kingdom, and no one could enter or leave. The queen knew that she had to do something to save her kingdom, so she ordered her finest blacksmiths to forge a great iron suit of armor for her. Once she was clad in the armor, she rode out to meet the turtle. The queen and the turtle fought a great battle, but in the end, the queen emerged victorious. She slew the turtle with a single blow and saved her kingdom. The people of the kingdom were so grateful to her that they proclaimed her the Iron Queen, and she ruled over them for many more years in peace and prosperity. However, when the story is flipped, it is different. Because if you were to ask the turtle, the story comes out differently. The giant turtle had to leave his home because of the Iron Queen. The queen was a cruel ruler who demanded that all the animals in the forest submit to her will. The giant turtle was a peaceful creature who just wanted to live in peace with the other animals. However, the queen would not allow this, and she demanded that the giant turtle submit to her. When the giant turtle refused, the queen became angry and she ordered her soldiers to attack the giant turtle's home. The giant turtle was forced to flee, and he eventually found a new home in a different forest. The giant turtle was sad to leave his home, but he knew that it was necessary in order to stay safe. Turtles have always been fascinating to me. A giant sea turtle is a magnificent creature. These gentle giants can weigh up to 1,000 pounds and can live to be over 100 years old. Giant sea turtles are found in all of the world's oceans, except for the Arctic and Antarctic. They spend most of their time in the water, but they must come ashore to lay their eggs. There are 7 species of giant sea turtle. The green turtle, the loggerhead, the hawksbill, the Kemp's ridley, the olive ridley, the flatback, and the leatherback. The green turtle is the largest of all the giant sea turtles. They can grow up to 5 feet long and can weigh up to 700 pounds. Green turtles are found in tropical and subtropical waters all over the world. The loggerhead turtle is the second largest of the giant sea turtles. They can grow up to 3 feet long and can weigh up to 400 pounds. Loggerhead turtles are found in the Atlantic, Pacific, and Mediterranean oceans. The hawksbill turtle is the third largest of the giant sea turtles. They can grow up to 2 feet long and can weigh up to 200 pounds. Hawksbill turtles are found in the Caribbean Sea, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Indian and Pacific Oceans. The Kemp's ridley turtle is the fourth largest of the giant sea turtles. They can grow up to 2 feet long and can weigh up to 100 pounds. Kemp's ridley turtles are found in the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. The olive ridley turtle is the fifth largest of the giant sea turtles. They can grow up to 2 feet long and can weigh up to 90 pounds. Olive ridley turtles are found in the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. The flatback turtle is the sixth largest of the giant sea turtles. They can grow up to 2 feet long and can weigh up to 80 pounds. Flatback turtles are found in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. The leatherback turtle is the seventh and largest of the giant sea turtles. They can grow up to 6 feet long and can weigh up to 2,000 pounds. Leatherback turtles are found in the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. Giant sea turtles are gentle giants that play an important role in the ocean ecosystem. These amazing creatures are threatened by pollution, climate change, and hunting. We must do everything we can to protect them. Baby turtles are one of the most adorable and popular animals on the planet. People love their small size, their big eyes, and their gentle nature. Baby turtles are also a popular choice for people who are looking for a pet that is low maintenance and easy to care for. There are many different species of turtles, and each one has its own unique set of care requirements. In this article, we are going to focus on baby turtles and what you need to know in order to take care of them. When it comes to baby turtles, there are a few things that you need to keep in mind. First of all, they are very delicate creatures. This means that you need to be extra careful when handling them. If you are not careful, you could easily hurt them. Baby turtles also have a very sensitive stomach. This means that you need to be careful about what you feed them. Some turtles can only eat certain types of food, so it is important to do your research before you buy a turtle. Another thing to keep in mind is that baby turtles grow very quickly. This means that you need to be prepared for them to outgrow their home very quickly. If you are not prepared for this, you could end up with a very unhappy turtle. Make sure that you have a plan for where your turtle will go when it gets too big for its current home. Finally, baby turtles need a lot of love and attention. They are not like other pets that can be left alone for long periods of time. Baby turtles need to be held and played with on a regular basis. If you are not prepared to give your turtle the attention it needs, then you should not get one. Baby turtles are a lot of work, but they are also a lot of fun. If you are prepared to take on the responsibility of caring for a baby turtle, then you will be rewarded with a loyal and loving friend. As a teenager, you are going through so many changes. You are growing physically, emotionally, and mentally. It's a lot to deal with. And on top of all of that, you are also dealing with the stress of school, friends, and family. So it's no wonder that you might feel like you are all alone sometimes. But don't worry, there are plenty of other teenagers out there who feel just like you do. In fact, you might be surprised to learn that you have more in common with turtles than you might think. Just like you, turtles are going through lots of changes during their teenage years. They are growing and changing physically, emotionally, and mentally. They are also dealing with the stress of their environment, whether it be predators, changes in temperature, or lack of food. So turtles can definitely relate to what you are going through. One of the biggest changes that turtles go through during their teenage years is their shell. As they grow, their shell begins to harden and change shape. This can be a stressful time for turtles, as they are adjusting to their new shell and trying to protect themselves from predators. Similarly, you are also going through changes in your body. You are growing taller, your voice is changing, and you are going through puberty. Like turtles, this can be a stressful time for you as you are adjusting to your new body and trying to figure out who you are. Just like turtles need to be careful of predators, you also need to be careful of the people around you. There are people who will try to take advantage of you, so it's important to be aware of your surroundings and who you can trust. The teenage years can be tough, but just remember that you are not alone. There are plenty of other teenagers out there who are going through the same thing. And who knows, you might even have more in common with turtles than you thought. James is an old turtle who has lived a long and eventful life. He was born in the wild, in a time when turtles were much more common than they are now. He remembers a time when the world was a very different place and when turtles were an important part of the ecosystem. As a young turtle, James was very adventurous. He loved to explore his surroundings and learn about the world around him. He was always curious, and he loved to ask questions. He quickly became friends with all of the other animals in his area, and he soon learned a lot about the natural world. As James grew older, he began to see the effects of humans on the environment. He saw how they were polluting the air and the water and how they were destroying the habitats of many animals. He also saw how they were hunting turtles for their shells and how this was causing the population of turtles to decline. As James got even older, he became more and more concerned about the state of the world. He wanted to do something to help make the world a better place for turtles and for all animals. He began to speak out against the things that humans were doing to the environment, and he became an important voice for change. Today, James is one of the oldest turtles in the world. He is still active in the fight for animal rights and the protection of the environment. He is an inspiration to all who meet him, and he continues to make a difference in the world. Cease was always fascinated by the sea. As a child, she would spend hours lying on the beach, listening to the sound of the waves and dreaming of what it would be like to swim in them. When she was older, she would go on holiday to the seaside with her family and friends, but she never dared to venture into the water. She was content to paddle at the edge, watching as the others splashed and played in the waves. One day, Cease came across an article about the Dead Sea. The name alone was enough to send a shiver down her spine, but she was curious to learn more. She read about how the sea got its name and how its waters are so salty that no creatures can live in them. She was fascinated by the idea of a place where life could not exist. Cease decides to visit the Dead Sea. She is not sure what to expect, but she is determined to find out more about this strange place. When she arrives, she is surprised to see how beautiful it is. The water is a deep blue, and the sun is shining. She takes a deep breath and plunges into the water. At first, the salt stings her skin, but she soon gets used to it. She floats effortlessly in the water, and she can feel the tension melting away from her body. She spends hours swimming and exploring the sea, and she is amazed by how different it is to any other body of water she has ever seen. When Cease emerges from the water, she feels refreshed and invigorated. She has never felt so alive before. She knows that she has found her true passion in life, and she is determined to change the name of the Dead Sea to something with a more positive tone. Cease was always a go-getter, never content to sit idle and let life pass her by. When she was just a young girl, she would often dream of making a difference in the world. but being somebody who left a lasting impression on those around her. And so, after finishing school, she set out to make her dreams a reality. She started her own business and quickly made a name for herself as a successful entrepreneur. But Cease didn't stop there. She was always looking for ways to give back, and so she decided to use her business skills to help others. She started a charity which helped to fund education for disadvantaged children. However, Cease's true passion was always in environmentalism. She had always been fascinated by the natural world and was determined to do whatever she could to protect it. And so, when she heard about the plight of the Dead Sea, she knew that she had to do something. The Dead Sea is one of the most important ecosystems in the world, and yet it is slowly dying due to the pollution and overuse of its resources. Cease is determined to change this. She is working tirelessly to raise awareness of the issue and to lobby for change. She is also working on a plan to create a sustainable future for the Dead Sea, one that will protect its ecosystem for generations to come. Cease is an inspiring woman who is making a real difference in the world. She is proof that one person can make a difference and that we all have the power to change the world for the better. Cease loves the Dead Sea, but her friend Stefan hates it. Stefan has a fear of salt. It all started when he was a child and he accidentally ate some salt. Since then, he has been scared of salt and has avoided it at all costs. He won't even go near the ocean because he is afraid of the salt water. This fear has led to Stefan having a very limited diet. He only eats foods that are salt-free, and he has to be careful about what he eats when he is out at restaurants. This can be very hard to do, especially since many foods contain hidden sources of salt. Stefan's fear of salt has also led to him having social anxiety. He is afraid to meet new people because he doesn't want them to know about his fear. This has made him very isolated and he has trouble making friends. Salt is everywhere and it is hard to avoid. Stefan has to be careful about everything he eats and touches. Even something like sweat can contain salt and trigger his fear. Living with this fear can be very difficult, but Stefan has found ways to cope. He has a support system of friends and family who understand his fear and help him to avoid situations that might trigger it. He also tries to stay positive and remind himself that his fear is not a death sentence. Although it is not always easy, Stefan is managing to live with his fear of salt. Stefan has always been afraid of salt. It's not that he's afraid of the ocean or swimming in it, he's just afraid of salt. He's never been able to explain it, but something about the way it feels on his skin or the way it tastes makes him feel uncomfortable. This fear has always made him a bit of an outsider, as most people love the ocean and salt. Cease, on the other hand, loves the ocean and salt. She loves the way it smells and the way it feels on her skin. She's always been fascinated by the ocean and the creatures that live in it. One day, Stefan and Cease meet by chance. They strike up a conversation and quickly become friends. Stefan confides in Cease about his fear of salt, and Cease listens sympathetically. She doesn't judge him or try to change his mind. She just accepts him for who he is. Over time, Cease starts to share her love of the ocean with Stefan. She takes him to the beach and shows him how to build sandcastles. She teaches him how to swim and even takes him to the Dead Sea. Stefan is amazed by how salty it is and how he can't sink. He starts to see the beauty in the ocean and the salt that he once feared. Without even realizing it, Cease has helped Stefan overcome his fear. He's now able to enjoy the ocean and the salt that he once feared. They remain friends for many years, and Cease continues to help Stefan grow and overcome his fears.